with her slicing and dicing a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses. Unlike the original, Angela finds a way out of the house this time to spread her wicked ways, and she ends up going to a Catholic dormitory to terrorize the students. The dormitory, the Catholic school, is run by Sister Gloria, who provides much of the film's humor. In the first half of the film, she's the no-nonsense curmudgeon that punishes the students that misbehave, and with her yardstick, separates the couples that are standing too close together, insisting that they leave a little room for the Holy Ghost. But once the students start playing basketball with their own severed heads, she decides to prepare for the battle between good and evil by practicing her kung fu moves and filling up super soakers with holy water. This film is crazy. And it uses every cliche in the book, especially the whole we'll find her a whole lot faster by splitting up technique. But this film is impossible not to like because you won't be bored for a second, and best of all, it takes place on Halloween night.
Late one night when my eyes beheld
Number 6 is The Midnight Hour, which I doubt many of you have heard of. I didn't see it until a couple of years ago. And it breaks my heart to know how obscure it is. It was a made-for-TV movie in 1985, and it was shown maybe once or twice, and then it vanished into video world obscurity. You can find it in some of the best video stores around, and it's definitely worth checking out, because when it comes down to just overall sincerity and passion and appreciation for Halloween, very few films are on the level of The Midnight Hour. And unlike most TV movies that tend to play it safe to reach a certain demographic, this one reaches deep into the bag of treats and presents something for everyone. It's about a group of teenagers who, right before going to their Halloween party, they break into a witchcraft museum and steal some really brilliant props for their costumes, and they also recite a spell that brings the dead back to life. And from that point on, the movie just transforms into this ultimate monster mash, where you see the biggest variety of ghouls and goblins you can imagine. Among the many nice touches are the newspaper boy who rides a bike while wearing a skeleton costume, a teenager soaking in the delight of scaring young trick-or-treaters with his vampire costume, a boy dressed as a mummy that uses ketchup and eggs for a more realistic approach. There's another party-goer who keeps scratching his head because of an itchy wig. And there's also some really charming moments in a classroom where kids play Halloween hangman and give presentations about the origins of the holiday. It's also such a good-natured movie, mostly because of a very effective subplot involving the nerdy bookworm character who falls in love with one of the zombies, who was a cheerleader 40 years ago who got killed in an automobile accident, and she has no idea that any time has gone by. The relationship is really sweet and endearing, and it gets increasingly complicated and tragic as November approaches. The next movie on the list is perhaps the scariest movie of all time, and it's one of the horror genre's greatest achievements and contributions to the world of cinema, as it received overwhelmingly positive reviews, box office success, worldwide appreciation, and much like Paranormal Activity is doing right now, and the Blair Witch Project did 10 years ago, to see The Exorcist in 1973 in a movie theater was not just seeing a movie, it was being a witness to an incredible event that you would brag about and that you'll always remember. And I can't think of a more worthy film than The Exorcist to earn those accolades. It's, well, Halloween's supposed to give you one good scare, and just thinking about certain moments in The Exorcist is enough to give me chills. And it's important to realize that this is not just the film where Linda Blair vomits Satan's soup or her head spins around. It is, every scene is essential and really engaging, and even I like the quiet tension, how it slowly builds and builds, and the dialogue is really well written and just fun to listen to. I love hearing these people talk. There is a scene in the middle where the priest meets Lieutenant Kinderman, I think his name is. He's a fascinating character. And their dialogue is so natural and compelling, and it gives the film some light-hearted moments that it really needs, because this film goes to some dark places. And given the fact that we become emotionally involved in these characters, it's surprising that the film isn't more depressing, because what Ellen Burstyn's character has to go through is heartbreaking. And there are two other great reasons why this is a great movie for Halloween. First of all, if you go to places like Party City or Spirit, you'll see these CDs, Halloween soundtracks, Halloween compilations, and Tubular Bells from The Exorcist is usually included in those. And also, The Exorcist takes place in autumn, and you'll see all the essentials. You'll see the dead leaves and even the trick-or-treaters. When making my top 10 list, I decided to only consider feature-length films, but I know a huge part of essential Halloween viewing involves those smaller titles. So I wanted to remind you of the essentials. First of all, the most important one of the bunch is The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And then there's Garfield's Halloween Adventure, and the Halloween DVD of Roseanne. There are some really great Halloween episodes on this disc. You can of course skip the last one because the final season of Roseanne was a train wreck. Oh yeah, of course the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes are fantastic. Unfortunately, they've yet to be released together on one disc, and so you have to just watch the episodes in syndication when it gets closer to Halloween. And I also really want to recommend an episode of a show called Amazing Stories. It was on in the early 90s, and the episode is called Go to the Head of the Class. It's available on DVD, and it is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It stars Christopher Lloyd, and it's fantastic. And I also want to recommend, I think it was the only episode of Goosebumps I ever saw, but it was really good. It was called The Haunted Mask. It was a very, very good Halloween short.
Say it once, say it twice, take a chance and roll the dice, ride with the moon in the dead of night.
No list would be complete without producer Tim Burton and Henry Selick's masterpiece, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Shot entirely with stop-motion animation over the course of more than 3 years. This speedy 76-minute film is an orgiastic feast for the senses. Your eyes, ears, and heart will fall in love with it. And even with repeated viewings, it'll be hard to stop smiling. Like, even on your 10th viewing, you'll notice new things creeping their way into the corners of the frames, because every shot has so much going on. And what makes this such a warm, sentimental annual treat is how it has equal reverence for both Christmas and Halloween. And also how it internalizes what makes each holiday special. But I always felt that this movie is much more appropriate for Halloween than Christmas, because a huge majority of it takes place in Halloween Town, and it never really veers away from the grotesque and the surreal. I like to, like every October at some point, I like to drive with the windows down and blast the soundtrack for this movie in my car, because I feel that I am generously spreading holiday joy, and a lot of people might call this movie over-commercialized because of Hot Topic, but it's never really bothered me, because when I first experienced this movie, I was in middle school and I was semi-gothic, and it was very comforting to see so much love for this movie, you know, and to see all these creative merchandise. So, and also I think it's led to its growing popularity. I mean, it seems to have a bigger fan base each year, and I think because of Hot Topic and stores like that, I think it's one of the main reasons why The Nightmare Before Christmas is available every October in theaters in a 3D format in IMAX. So I think it's totally fantastic for a 1993 film to still be so relevant and unique, and